Do you know why we yawn? It's a simple question, isn't it? But the answer is anything but straightforward. Yawning, a seemingly ordinary act that we all do, is shrouded in mystery and intrigue. It's a universal phenomenon that's not just confined to humans, but is also prevalent in the animal kingdom. Dogs yawn, cats yawn, even birds and fish yawn. But why do we yawn? This question has perplexed scientists for centuries, and over the years numerous theories have been proposed. Some suggest that yawning is a reflex action triggered by boredom or tiredness. Others propose that it's a mechanism to wake us up, a quick pick-me-up if you will. And then there are theories that argue yawning is a social cue, a non-verbal communication tool that synchronizes mood within a group. One intriguing hypothesis posits that yawning evolved as a cooling mechanism for the brain. According to this theory, a hearty yawn helps to circulate the spinal fluid and flex the muscles and joints, thereby cooling down the brain. Despite these theories, the truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The mystery of yawning continues to baffle scientists and researchers, keeping them on their toes, constantly seeking answers. And while they may not have cracked the code yet, their relentless pursuit has unearthed some fascinating facts about yawning. So as we embark on this journey to unravel the enigma of yawning, prepare to be amazed, intrigued, and maybe even a little surprised. Because yawning, as it turns out, is not as mundane as it seems. It's an incredibly complex phenomenon, one that speaks volumes about our brain's inner workings and our body's intricate mechanics. Now that we've introduced the intriguing mystery of yawning, let's dive into some of the most interesting facts about it. Did you know that yawning is contagious? Yes, you heard it right. Much like a laugh in a comedy club or a round of applause at a concert, yawning can spread like wildfire in a group. But why is that? There are two main theories that have been proposed to explain this contagion of yawns. The first is a social theory. It suggests that contagious yawning is a form of empathy, a subconscious reflection of our social connections. In fact, studies have found that individuals with higher levels of empathy are more likely to catch a yawn. Isn't that fascinating? The second theory is biological. It posits that contagious yawning is an evolutionary trait, a primitive form of communication that signaled to our early ancestors that it was time to rest. It's like nature's way of saying, "Lights out, folks." To explore this further, let's dive into some intriguing experiments and studies. In one study, participants were more likely to yawn when they saw a video of someone else yawning than when they read about yawning or heard a yawn. The study concluded that yawning is a visually mediated phenomenon. It's as if we're hardwired to respond to the sight of a yawn. Another experiment found that contagious yawning isn't just limited to humans. Even our furry friends, dogs, have been observed to yawn contagiously, especially when their human companions yawn. Can you imagine a yawn that transcends species? Then there's the yawn gap, a term coined to describe the delay between seeing someone yawn and feeling the urge to yawn yourself. It's a fascinating display of how our brains process and respond to stimuli. So there you have it. Yawning isn't just a simple reflex or a sign of boredom. It's a complex, contagious phenomenon that's deeply rooted in our social and biological makeup. The next time someone yawns, pay attention to your reaction. You might just catch a yawn. Have you ever wondered if yawning has a purpose? It's a question that has puzzled scientists and laymen alike for ages. But what if I told you that yawning could be a natural air conditioning system for your brain? Intriguing, isn't it? Let's delve into this fascinating theory. It all starts with the understanding of our body temperature. Our bodies, including our brains, function optimally at a certain temperature range. If our brain temperature goes beyond this range, it could potentially affect our cognitive function and overall well-being. So how does our body maintain this delicate balance? Enter yawning. When you yawn, you take in a large gulp of air which circulates around the nasal and oral cavities before reaching the brain. This process is thought to cool down the brain by dissipating heat and bringing in cooler air from the surroundings. The idea of yawning as a cooling mechanism is backed by several scientific studies. For instance, a study published in the journal Physiology and Amp Behavior found that people yawn more in summer than in winter. The researchers hypothesized that yawning is less effective in extreme heat because the air we inhale is warmer than our body temperature. Another compelling study from the University of Vienna found that people yawn more when their brain temperature is higher than their body temperature. The researchers used thermal imaging to measure brain temperature before and after yawning and found that yawning indeed appears to cool the brain. Of course, it's important to note that yawning for temperature regulation is just one theory. The biological purpose of yawning is still a topic of ongoing research and debate. However, the evidence supporting the brain cooling theory is certainly compelling. In conclusion, while we often associate yawning with boredom or tiredness, it might be serving a much more critical function. It could be your body's subtle yet sophisticated way of maintaining optimal brain temperature. So the next time you yawn, it might just be your brain's way of cooling down. What does yawning have to do with sleep? Now, that's a question that piques curiosity and calls for a fascinating exploration. It's almost second nature for us to associate yawning with sleepiness. You know the drill. You see someone yawn, you instantly assume they're tired or ready for bed. But is this always the case? Well, not exactly. While yawning can indeed be a sign of sleepiness, it's not always about craving a good night's sleep. You see, yawning is a complex response tied to various factors, and sleepiness is just one of them. To understand this, let's delve into the science behind yawning and sleep. Every time we yawn, our body experiences a brief moment of arousal. No, not that kind of arousal. We're talking about physiological arousal, a state where our body prepares for action. It's like a mini wake-up call that helps to shake off drowsiness and keep us alert. So when we're feeling sleepy, a yawn can serve as a quick jolt to keep us awake a little longer. It's like our body's personal alarm clock, which is quite handy, don't you think? But yawning isn't exclusive to sleepiness. It can also be a response to other conditions like exhaustion or boredom. Ever found yourself yawning in the middle of a dull meeting or a monotonous lecture? That's your body signaling that it needs a change of pace or a break. Yawning can also be a response to stress or anxiety, serving as a coping mechanism for our body to self-soothe and relax. So while yawning can indeed be a sign of sleepiness, it's not the whole story. It's a multifaceted phenomenon that's tied to various aspects of our bodily functions. Yawning is our body's way of communicating with us, signaling different needs at different times. The next time you yawn, it might not just mean you're tired. It could be your body asking for a change of scenery, a moment of calm, or perhaps a much-needed break. So listen to your yawns. They might be trying to tell you something. So, what have we learned about yawning? First and foremost, we dove into the intriguing mystery of yawning. It's a universal human phenomenon, transcending age, culture, and even species. Yet, despite its commonality, science is still working to unravel the various intricacies of why we yawn. Indeed, yawning remains a fascinating enigma, one that continues to pique our curiosity and fuel scientific inquiry. Next, we delved into the concept of contagious yawning. It's something we've all experienced. Seeing someone else yawn, talking about yawning, or even just reading the word yawn can trigger our own yawning reflex. This spread of yawning, interestingly, isn't just a human trait. It's also observed in many animals, from chimpanzees to dogs, hinting at its deep-rooted evolutionary significance. Remember how we also discussed yawning as a temperature regulator? Yes, it turns out yawning might be our body's natural cooling mechanism. When we yawn, we draw in a large amount of cooler air, which cools down our brain, helping it function more efficiently. It's like our body's built-in air conditioning system. A fascinating concept, isn't it? And let's not forget about yawning and sleep. Yawning is often associated with sleepiness or boredom, but the link between yawning and sleep is much more complex. Yawning can act as a signal, preparing our body for sleep by triggering a cascade of physiological changes. It can also serve as a wake-up call, helping us stay alert during periods of sleep deprivation. In essence, yawning is much more than just a simple reflex or a sign of tiredness. It's a complex biological process with various plausible functions, from promoting social bonding and empathy through contagious yawning to optimizing brain temperature and alertness. The next time you yawn, remember these fascinating facts and you might just appreciate this simple act a little more.